It was an average Saturday night, and I was bored as hell. My parents were gone on their anniversary dinner, and my sister was out with her boyfriend, doing God knows what. I was surfing the internet for random sites and wasn't impressed with what I found. So I went to my old reliable, YouTube. I did my typical practice of going on a favorites vid, and then finding some related videos on the side, just to kill the time. I just happened to be a connoisseur of weird videos. I watched Salad Finger and Dog of Man, and more of the like, by the hour. So, as you expect, I have a bunch of rather odd vids on my favorites list. So anyhow, I clicked on one of them, and in the related, I find a video called penny.avi. This intrigued me, as most videos were not left in their primitive form, and are renamed before uploading. So I clicked on it, noting the ad date was just today. I was immediately greeted by an extremely loud metal-on-metal sound. As I had my headphones on and the volume was about 70, this scared me pretty bad. I quickly muted the video and turned my volume down. Turning the volume on again, I was greeted by the whispers of a little girl. I couldn't tell what she was saying, but she sounded angry and sad at the same time. In the visual part of the video, I saw the little girl, sitting in the corner of a dark room. She looked about 12. She was barely visible, as the room she was in was extremely dark. The video was fairly grainy, almost as if an old cassette camcorder was used to film it. I checked for an HD option, but 240p was the highest. Thinking this was a home video and maybe meant to be private, I almost paused and went back to vid surfing, when the little girl clearly said my name. Now, I know it could have been a coincidence, but no. When I looked back to the vid, the girl was looking at me. She had hair in front of her face though, so I can't really say she was looking at me, but I can say she was facing me. Then she stood up. At this time I was getting pretty weirded out, and started a nervous tic of mine. I started to hum. The little girl was just standing there, facing the camera. She just stood there a good 30 seconds, not moving. Then the camera started zooming. It was zooming in on the little girl's midsection and then zooming in on her right hand. In her hand was a single coin. It looked like a penny. It wasn't your standard copper penny, but looked like a different variety. I paused the vid to get a better look. It looked like a silver penny. The girl sat down again and started scraping the penny on the metal wall, causing that ear-racking sound again, and causing me to mute the vid again. She then got up and started walking towards the camera, really fast. When she came into the light, I noticed she was in a plain, pale, yellow sundress, and wore very worn, brown shoes, similar to what would be worn in a 50s rural area. She was also extremely thin, borderline anorexic. She then began scratching the wall again, raping my ears with that horrible sound again. I almost mute the vid, but then she says my name again in something I can't quite make out. Then in the next frame she's on the floor in a crouch position, with her hands and knees on the ground and her toes pressed against the floor, looking ready to pounce. The vid just went black, but it still had 30 seconds left. It was quiet for about 25 seconds, and then suddenly I heard the scraping sound again, and the girl's voice saying, "Coming." And then the video went over. At this point, I'm having a what the fuck moment. What did I just watch? How did it know my name? What did it mean by coming? I considered the coin she was holding, so I googled silver penny, and it came up with its normal 100,000 results. Clicking on the link, I learned that that penny was likely a steel penny. Steel was used during World War II to produce pennies, as copper was used for bullet casing and other military supplies. At this point, I was beginning to think of all the creepypastas I'd read on these weird videos. I was really starting to freak out. I stood up, got a glass of water, and started telling myself aloud that this was nothing. I heard something like scraping, but convinced not to get scared, I ignored it, thinking it was just branches on my window. The moment I returned to my computer and sat down, my browser then refreshed the page, despite me not telling it to. What came up was a web page that had photo scans of old newspaper, and it had a subsection opened in the 1940s. I quickly went to open my antivirus, but was interrupted with a notepad document opening with 2 words popping up on my screen. Please? First. Totally freaked out, I felt compulsed to oblige this request. I read the article of the first newspaper in the list, and it was just a typical war newspaper reporting on battles, troop losses, etc. But there was an article that caught my eye. It was an article about the murder of a young girl, and, intrigued, I read it. According to the paper, a young girl named Penny Dolores Lucian was murdered on this date, but years ago, August 5th, 1945. Before I could read any more, my browser changed my cursor into a rotating blue ring, meaning it was changing pages. What came up was YouTube again, and the video's title was still penny.avi. This time, it was a totally different video. The girl was just standing in front of the camera, just staring into it, humming the same tune I was earlier. Then the video started to get bloody. Blood ran down the camera lens and everything got extremely blurry, until all I could see was a muddled red picture. Then suddenly I heard that fucking scratching again. Behind me. The only thing is, I realized I didn't have my headphones on. Something made me look again at that notepad document, and only one word popped up. Venge.